This is the perfect RIA, in case you didn't know. Bringing you all the strategies to help your business grow. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Sit back and listen in while you feel the beat, yeah! Another myth bites the dust.
Hello, TPR Nation. This is Amber Kuhn from the Perfect RIA. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday, where I'll be covering the highlights and action items from this week's episodes. On Monday's episode, Matt and Micah were discussing something that Micah is super passionate about, a value add that he uses, which is the retirement income timeline. Micah discussed how recently he was going through a plan for a new client that's getting ready to retire, and they didn't know where their income was coming from. And they initially had some concern around moving into retirement. He shared that he and Matt have the history of working with hundreds of clients and knowing that the plan that they're going to create is not only going to provide so much value to the client, but it's also going to give them the confidence and security that they need to move into retirement. He said that sometimes we can underestimate the stress that's there. Matt said whether it's a mini or regular surge, one of the things required for surge to be successful is for your processes to be streamlined. He said, we've got to boil these things down so they're super concise. You need to be efficient for your offices to be able to handle surge, and because your clients are going into this great unknown. Matt said if you give them a 50-page plan, it makes things worse, not better. Micah said that it's so important to make things simple and that you need to be hyper clear to clients as to what do numbers mean. He said as much as possible, he's talking in net numbers. He always reminds his clients that it's his job to worry about taxes and inflation. So we'll tell them that whenever they're talking about the net number, which is the one that's going into their bank account. Matt said on his one-page financial plan, after they restate the client's goals, they'll show the net number and then include what that before tax number is. He said you always want to lead with what is the simplest answer I can give them. Always lead with the simplest thing, not the most complicated thing. Micah gave an example of a client who was talking about their retirement income. They had received a document with a gross monthly benefit, and they were already mentally spending that money. He said that this is the importance of giving those net numbers and really showing what does that net number really mean and how does it change over time. Matt then asked Micah how he handles situations with a client who may have what he calls an egregious misunderstanding of their finances. Micah said he'll write down a note in his homework sheet that he has to address this, and he's really careful about how he approaches this with the client. He said he'll explore the numbers with the client to make sure that they're on the same page, and they'll do this on a piece of paper. He'll share the gross number and remind them that they don't get their gross, they get their net. And I'll tell them that the net amount is that one that goes into their bank account. And then he said he has the client go through the deductions that will then come out each month. He said, so now the client becomes right and they can show their expertise because then they've come up with that actual number. Then Michael will say that he's glad they discovered that amount today and they will put a plan in place. Matt compared Micah's explanation to how a younger or less experienced advisor may approach this. Matt said this is something that can separate the younger advisor from the one who delivers massive value. He said the ones that are delivering massive value, they realize it's all about communication. The technical knowledge is important, but it's all about how you articulate that. Micah added that communication with the client is key in leading them through a discussion. He said they won't remember how he went through each step, but they'll remember that they went through it together. The guys then discussed how they handle clients who approach them and feel that they know or are on top of everything, or maybe if they only want them to focus on one area. In each example they shared, the client had missed multiple things. Micah said that this is the importance of doing a full financial plan. If he can't look at everything, then they can't become his client. The guys then went through Micah's retirement income timeline value add. And this is one of the value adds that Micah uses in almost every meeting and with every prospect. Micah said that he liked MoneyGuide Pro, but he felt it was too complex for his clients. He wanted to have a simple one-pager to show his clients what the plan was, and that would give them more confidence in their retirement. His retirement income timeline is only a 10-year snapshot of where their income is going to come from, and it allows the client to see what the gap is and where they want to be. Now, this is custom built software, but Micah said that he used Excel for a while, so you can create something like this in Excel or Word. The guys wrapped up the episode with Micah talking about both the financial and emotional side of a client retiring. With regards to the timeline, when his clients are about 2 years out from retirement, he wants them to start living off of the retirement dollars. So he'll actually redirect their entire paycheck into a Schwab account. And then he'll have Schwab pay them out exactly how their pensions will be paid out. He wants to simulate retirement as much as possible. Let's get into action items from Monday's episode. You need to constantly be setting and resetting client expectations and think about how consistent are you in your process of explaining things to clients. Also, there's no financial concept that can't be illustrated with a pen and a piece of paper. Lastly, be sure to practice whatever it is you're going to present to your client. If your clients aren't understanding it, then you need to find a better way to articulate that. On this week's What Works Wednesday, Matt was joined by Ashley Murphy, who's an advisor, mountain biker, and the president of the Global Financial Planning Institute. Ash focuses on working with Australian expats. Matt started the episode by sharing that it wasn't until Matt met Ash that the importance of having a well-defined niche sank into his soul permanently. Matt and Ash discussed the concept of niches and that it's important to think about whether a niche is actually a niche. For example, as they shared, having a niche that focuses on dogs doesn't mean it's really a niche. And that just because something is weird, it doesn't mean someone is going to resonate with that. Matt and Ash then discussed how he got into his tightly defined niche of working with Australian expats. Matt said that not only does Ash have a tightly defined niche, he's making it his life's mission with the Global Financial Planning Institute and is now holding a conference in January to talk with advisors who have multinational and international clients. Ash said that it came about from when he was in a knowledge circle with the FPA and said that there wasn't an event where the word global or cross border was mentioned that he wasn't there. He spent time searching for industry organizations and resources in regards to working with his cross border and international clients, and he felt that there wasn't much to provide the education needed to work with those clients. And there wasn't a community for advisors focused in this area either. He said that the Global Financial Planning Institute was born on a mountain bike trip with Matt, and a few months later, the first masterclass was launched. Matt and Ash said that this speaks to the power of masterminds and the inspiration and passion that comes out of them, especially the accountability. Matt and Ash talked about industry knowledge and advisors who may say that they're an expert, but in reality, they aren't. Matt said you can't read a blog post and become an expert in a niche. They also talked about the importance of communication, which circles back to what Matt and Micah were talking about on Monday's episode as well. You can have a deep technical expertise and a passion, but you also need the ability to communicate. Ash shared something that Matt told him at one point, which was to record yourself and listen to yourself. Be your own harshest critic. He said that understanding how certain words resonate with people and using comfortable language that people can understand is incredibly important. Ash shared information about his upcoming event. He said that there's two tracks that are being offered: practice management and technical. He said that the conference is really for advisors who are working with or interested in working with clients whose financial lives cross borders. He shared that there are 10 million individuals in the US who are born abroad, and there's tens of millions of others on various types of visas or permanent residence. Ash said with international cross border, the actual fact finding process is different. You need to find out things such as where does the client have assets? Where were they born? In what countries have they worked? Where do they see themselves retiring to? Can you get funds from one country to another? He added that it gets very technical very quickly. Matt noted that this isn't something you can just pick up quickly. He shared an example of a client who would have been a perfect fit for him, but they had this international situation, and for a moment, Matt thought he could try to figure this out. But he said that's not the kind of advice that he wants to give. The client's going to want an advisor who's dealt with the situation, which in this instance was Ash. With this client example, Matt said that he realized that he could have potentially cost that client millions of dollars if he had stepped outside of his lane. Let's get into action items from Wednesday's episode. Check out the Global Financial Planning Institute and sign up for Ash's conference in January. If this niche is appealing to you, Ash said that you need to get the base education. His program runs a 10-session masterclass that will lay the foundation for this. In addition to that, Ash said that you need to think about if you're going to work on a country-by-country basis or if you're going to be a generalist. Lastly, in addition to finding your niche, it's critical to establish who you should not be working with. On this week's Worlds to Conquer, Jamie discussed how to help your team members set priorities. This isn't as simple as just creating a list because your team needs to know how to handle this when everything is a priority. Jamie said, nothing that you do as an advisor is too trivial to need to deliver massive value to the client. Jamie shared where this is really evident in their office is after search takes place and all the action items are listed out both for the firm and for the clients to do as a part of their homework. Once these items are listed out, they're then assigned to a particular department. In the Shalansky office, this is either with the relationship managers or the operations team. From there, the lead in each department will decide who handles specific tasks based on their current workload. Jamie said sometimes a team member might have so much to do that they have difficulty setting those priorities. That team member can then go to the lead, and then the lead can go through those items to help determine the priorities. If the lead is having difficulty with that, then they can schedule time with the advisor to go through and ask which has the highest priority. Jamie has her team set priorities based on the following. Does this involve the movement of money? Is it time sensitive? And if someone dies, will there be a great impact? These are good parameters to set with team members to help them better understand the level of priorities for all of their tasks. Jamie also shared some recommendations for your team to help them focus. One of the great things that they set up in the Shalansky office is a focus room that only allows outbound calls. It's literally designed with one task in mind. She said the relationship managers use this when they have hundreds of appointments to schedule. They'll go into that room and do nothing other than make those outbound calls. She said they also added a treadmill because her team said that the constant sitting would deplete their energy. Jamie said, when we're forward moving, our brain is firing on different cylinders because it's trying to problem solve. You want an energy for the team. So by adding that treadmill, the team feels like they can move around and their level of enthusiasm has increased. Jamie also brought up the importance of having a communication policy. If you don't have an internal policy in place, then you never know what may happen when your team calls you, especially when you're outside of the office and when it's a trivial matter. But you haven't set any guidelines in place for what you as the advisor need to be notified of and what your team is empowered to handle. Let's get into action items. You have to set the priorities for your team. You need to have a communication policy. And for our TPR members, you can check out our examples within the Backstage Pass. You need to give rules that your team can follow. And make sure that these rules are written out so your team knows how to deliver massive value to you and your clients. That wraps up this week's recap. Thank you so much for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday. Be sure to give us 5 stars wherever you're enjoying this podcast and share this or any of our episodes with another advisor who you think might benefit from listening. And until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father,